Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite, our chicken soup for the soul entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip, back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the queue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast you hear all latest in television, entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and the third one is
Kyle Bridger. So if it's just one of us, it's a one-body problem. And if it's two of us, it's a two-body problem. But all three of us makes a three-body problem.
wow, what a build-up. Let me check the math. Yep. It checks
adds
out.
okay.
It adds up. Good job. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the three-body problem as best we can here. We might need a lot more than three bodies to break this one down. There's a lot going on in this Netflix show. We also got some coming attractions we're going to talk about for some upcoming movies and TV shows that we're going to get later this summer. And we have this first segment. John, what is it?
In and out points.
Yes, it is in and out points. This is kind of lost, because we've been in Academy Awards mode. We were so stuck in that we didn't get all the movie news we could during that time. So let's talk about some now. Oscar-winning filmmaker Sam Mendes has set plans to make 4 separate theatrical films, one on each of the members of the probably music's most famous band, the Beatles. So Mendes will direct all 4 of these films, and this is the first time that the Beatles have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film. These 4 movies will be interconnected, one featuring each band member's point of view. So we're gonna get a Ringo movie, we're gonna get a Paul movie, we're gonna get a John Lennon movie, so on. So what do we think of this, John? Are you excited for 4 Beatles movies?
Yeah, the format's a little bit weird. I feel like you'd probably have an easier time selling one longer movie than 4 individual movies, and
A mini series or something.
Yeah, not to make it weird, but people definitely have favorite Beatles. You know what I mean? You're gonna have one that doesn't do so well and be like, oh, sorry, Ringo, your movie flopped. What? I don't know. But otherwise, yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, they're probably seeing some of the money that came in with the Bohemian Rhapsody one and the John Lennon, not John Lennon, Elton John. No,
Yep.
Elton
John.
Elton John, yeah.
Yep.
The Elton John one. They're probably like, oh, dude, we got to get in on that. So who knows?
And there's a big Michael Jackson movie coming out, I believe, next year, or maybe it's later this year. I'm not exactly sure. So yeah, music biopics are becoming huge, and you can't get much bigger than the Beatles. But exactly what you said, I worry about how they're gonna release this and what's the order, because yeah, some of the band members may be more popular than others, and it's yeah, George Harrison, if we're gonna start off with that one, or no, you got to start with McCartney, who which order are you going into and how they're gonna connect? I got a lot of questions about how this is gonna go down, but Kyle, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just have a lot of questions. Because it feels like a choose your own adventure thing. Are we playing them or whatever? We can choose their path. Don't go, John Lennon for Yoko Ono. What are we?
Bandersnatch or something? Yeah, with the Beatles.
It's just it's kind of an odd one to me, but I mean, I feel like there's been so much coming out with the Beatles recently, especially that big doc that Peter Jackson did, right? Which was really long. So I'm also curious about how much say they're going to have over what's being told. Is this going to be a legit true telling? Or are we kind of watering it down to make it more palatable
The
to the
Bohemian
stars.
Rhapsody of it all, right, John?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I wonder how truthful or how not maybe not truthful, but how much we're gonna delve into each of their stories.
Yeah, which is crazy because like something with like Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like literally like rock stars like have this reputation for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like that's like the thing. And then for these movies to come out, it's like very like watered down or sugar coated. It's like, well, why are we even doing it then? Like give us the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting. They granted their life rights to this, but again, are they producers? I mean, is McCartney? You gonna make final say on his film or maybe some of the other members' films? Really curious how they're gonna release it, like how much time in between, because like we're gonna see this summer with the Kevin Costner movies, Horizon. I think one comes out in July, the other one comes out in like August or something
Mm.
like that. And it's like doing two movies in the franchise in a short amount of time. Is this one a year, one for each season? How are they gonna do this? Like if anything, I almost kind of would, you'll never hear me say this probably again, but I almost wish this was like the MCU, the Marvel of it all. Give me these four origin stories and then they all team up for the Beatles Avengers movie, like put them all together in there. But
Mm.
no, it'd be interesting to see like if it's from each point of view, if things like some scenes are going to overlap. Maybe that's why it's like you could do four films all at like once. Almost like there was the show on Showtime called The Affair, where
Hmm.
you saw from like scenes from two
Yeah.
perspectives and how they
Yeah.
are interpreted. Maybe we'll get stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of potential here. Obviously, Sam Mendes is a director, Oscar-winning director that has a lot of skill. So I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Something also that came into my mind is like how beloved the Beatles
Yeah.
are. If you're starring as one of the Beatles,
Yeah.
you better have your acting chops on point because people are going to roast you. So you
We're
got to
seeing
have
it right
your
now with Timothy Chalamet with the Bob Dylan
yeah,
uh set photos. They're
yeah,
people are already commenting on that, and the movie hasn't even come out yet. But
yeah. So yeah, it's like that's another avenue to look at when looking at this
Mhm.
set of films.
Actually, I mentioned Timothy Chalamet. That's a great transition to our next story. He's currently Wonka in the movie theaters. Now, sadly, we really missed talking about this actual event involving Willy Wonka or a makeshift Willy Wonka over there, I believe in Scotland. Almost it feels like an Always Sunny episode turned real. It's the Fire Fest for kids. This immersive Willy Wonka experiment, this experience, this bait and switch thing that they did. Because for those who don't know, I'll do it real quick and then I'll catch you up on why we're talking about it this week. But for those who don't know the event, it was in Scotland and it was advertised using AI art. And, guests were charged $40 for a journey filled with wondrous creations, enchanting surprises at every turn. It was going to be, look at this photo. I mean, it's going to be like just an immersive experience. Instead, when the family showed up, they got to an empty warehouse and Oompa Loompa looking like she was cooking meth, at her little lab there instead of in the kitchen.
Oh my God.
And there was no chocolate whatsoever. Instead, kids were given two jelly beans and half a cup of lemonade. That was it really was the Fire Fest like lunchbox there with the white bread and
Oh
the
my
but
gosh.
yeah. So why am I talking about it this week? Well, the Beatles are not the only ones getting a musical event. We're also going to get Willie Fest. Willie Fest, a musical parody, will take inspiration from this event and will be a live event hailing from producer Richard Kraft, who did ABC's The Little Mermaid live. This live event is coming later this year. And yes, we are now doing, let me get this, a live event
And of
based
a
on an,
failed
yeah, failed event based on a movie, based
Yeah.
on a book.
Yeah.
How many layers are we going here?
I know.
Oh my God, but
And is it so this is like a theater thing? Like a
I believe it's. I mean, this is what like annoys me with this, where we do have a producer on board. It sounds like it's just like this idea. Like we got the idea, we got the
Yeah.
rights because the writers and team are not settled yet. Like it's like always like this thing. Why do we always do this backwards? It's like
Mhm.
like even like there's a Jurassic World movie coming out. Who's starring in it? Don't know. Who's the script? Don't know, but we have a date. It's July 2025. It's like, wait, what? Like, I don't know. It's weird. And I do wonder though, with like, if it is a theater event or, if it's a live, TV production, because parody law gets very confusing because it is based on Willy Wonka,
Mhm.
which is owned by, Warner Brothers or whatever group that is, or the Doll Estate. I don't know exactly who has the rights. So can they do this? Or it's like, can they, yeah, change the name? It's Billy Bunka. Like it's, just changing it a little
Mhm.
bit. Um, or it's, yeah, maybe they're just like if they're commenting on this event, it's okay. I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah. Just the idea of we're creating something based on a failed thing with all these layers just seems absolutely wild to me. Um, but especially if it's just an idea, we don't even know where it goes from here. I bet this doesn't even get made
Yeah.
because it's like, it's also one of those things where like these projects are being like pushed or created a lot of the times. Um, like they
Like
just don't
the
even
like the
happen. They don't
like
even
the
happen. They
the
don't even come
GameStop
about.
things. How many did weren't we supposed to get like six different GameStop stories? And I think we got like
Yeah,
one. We got the dumb
yeah,
money one, and that was like it.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's like whoever's first to put it out there and have like a legit thing can make it happen. But as you can see, I mean, with Ryan Murphy's development deal, it's like you can just make a few couple of things and come up with some ideas here and there and call it a day.
Yeah. I got an idea for something, and you just slap on American Crime Story, American Blank
Yeah.
Story, and it's money.
Yeah. So I
Like
bet this doesn't even get made
yeah,
because something new is always happening in the world, or
yeah,
like going viral on Twitter.
they're gonna
Like
forget
even when we
about
do
this.
our
Yeah,
pop culture moment thing at the end,
yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was like big for like a week, and I feel like
mhm,
that's what stuff is at this point.
definitely. Well, I mean, the Beatles have four films. Why can't Willy Wonka and this Firefest event have another film? If you're looking for something a little more scary, we also are gonna get The Unknown. Oh my God.
The
A s-
unknown.
The Unknown. Do you not know this beloved character from the Willy Wonka movies? Let's play the clip, John.
Oh God.
It's the unknown.
Dude, did you see those kids' faces, man? They were
I hear
scared
him.
out of their mind.
No. Yeah, that's The Unknown. Let's play it one more time there, John, to really get a sense of this character.
Yeah, sure. Hang on.
Yeah. Oh.
What is that? It's the unknown.
So it looks like, yeah, we got just a long black robe, some black hair and a mask, and you hide behind a mirror and it's the unknown.
Yeah,
Everyone's favorite
no.
Willy Wonka character. We're gonna get a horror film. A Scotland-based film production company is basing a horror film off of an unknown character that was part of an event. And it, again, wears a silver mask, has absolutely nothing to do with the Willy Wonka movies, as far as I know. But this picture, quote, is the film gearing up for production and a late 2024 release follows a renowned illustrator and his wife who are haunted by the tragic death of their son Charlie. Desperate to escape their grief, the couple leave the world behind for the remote Scottish Highlands, where an unknowable evil awaits them.
What?
I guess it's like some kind of like Slender Man, Empty Man,
Oh
whatever
God.
thing, some creature in the woods, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or whatever. We'll get to that at some point, guys. Lay off. Just kidding.
You
But
know what this I don't know if any of I'm not really a big wrestling fan,
yeah.
but there used to be an old wrestler called Sting,
Mm.
and this guy looks like Sting. So if you find a picture of Sting, this dude, like his makeup looks exactly like it. That's what it looks like to me.
Okay. Well, we'll
That's what
see.
it should have been like. Sting's comeback is this character right here. That's where the movie should have gone.
I mean, maybe they can get Sting. I don't know if the musician Sting or this wrestler Sting,
Yeah.
either one can be the unknown. I don't
But
know. Oh,
yeah, look at
John
that.
has an image.
Yeah. Like if you put a wig on him, that is Sting.
I could see it. I could see it. Um, yeah. All
What is
right.
it? It's Sting. I mean the unknown.
It also sounds like the Ender or something. Like I can't hear it. Like he says, I guess the unknown, but it's like, what is this? It's the Ender. It's like what? Um,
I love
uh,
also he's what is he hiding behind? A mirror?
A
He's
Yeah.
like
mirror, yeah.
oh my God.
Well,
it's just wild too, because like in at least the Willy Wonka movies, I mean, you got the original. I remember there was like a weird, like a knife guy, like knife salesman outside the factory that scares Charlie. But of course, you have Slugworth. At least name the character Slugworth, unless again it's some kind of rights issue. But you already have this thing called Willy Fest or Willy
Yeah.
Wonka Land or whatever it is. Like,
So this all ties back to that leaked script for this event, where
Oh.
it's called The Unknown, and that leaks the AI script
Mm.
that they had made, which wasn't AI. They used AI for proofreading.
oh
Oh
yeah.
So
my God.
you can go read like excerpts from it about like that
I'm
describes
shocked
this
that this
character.
thing has a script.
Well, it's very nonsensical. It has
It's
cues for the audience.
Curb. Yeah, it's Curb, where it's an outline of what the episode is.
It literally has cues for the audience who are coming in to pay money to like laugh and joyfully like run around and all these different like points in the thing, and it's like, all right, you obviously are just like running it through AI, but yeah,
Like,
that's
literally,
where this is coming out of.
This event, the kids would have been so much happier if you literally just gave them sugar. Like if you just gave them more than 2 jelly beans and you actually gave them like whatever, some cookies,
Yeah.
a lollipop or something. If you got them hopped up on sugar, they wouldn't have cared where
Mm.
they were. Like they would have been sure like having a great time. But no, if you give them just 2 jelly beans and half a cup of lemonade, that's not enough. It's not enough.
Just hearing the kids, the groans of like,
Yeah. All right.
oh my
Well,
God.
that is it for this. We have 2 movies that are actually, we have trailers for them. It's going to be happening. These are actually going to come out. We'll see if these other ones actually do. But in order to talk about them, let's go to the theater and talk about some coming attractions.
Here are some exciting coming attractions.
All right. So it's actually one movie and a TV show, but it's on HBO. So it's not, it's not TV, it's HBO. But we're going to start off with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. This film is going to come out Memorial Day weekend, May 24th. And it's hard to believe, but it's almost been 10 years since the last Mad Max film. And this one is set 15 to 20 years before the events of that one. It's a prequel where we have young Furiosa, played here by Anya Taylor-Joy. And she is snatched from the green place of many mothers. And then she's brought into the hands of the biker horde led by Warlord Dementis, who's played here by Chris Hemsworth. We're basing off the trailer. That's all we have. That's all we have to look at. Let's start off with Kyle. What did you think of Furiosa, a Mad Max
So you
saga?
said this is the prequel to
The
like
prequel.
Charlize Theron.
Yes,
Okay.
this is Charlize Theron 15 to 20 years earlier.
Yeah, okay. Now that checks out. Because I was gonna ask where we're at in the
Yes.
saga here because I didn't know what was happening. But I really want to go back and watch the Mad Max Fury Road. Because I remember it being very good. And so this is kind of getting me interested in that. I love Anya Taylor-Joy, so I'm excited for that. Honestly, it just looked more action-packed like Fury Road did, so I'm all on board with that. Couldn't really tell what was happening storyline-wise. Chris Hemsworth almost seems like a caricature. It
Yeah.
almost seemed like another Marvel character in a way when he came on. I was like, is this just his? So I'm gonna hold judgment on that until this movie comes out. But I was a little nervous with that rendition of whatever he's doing. But yeah, this looks action packed. It looks cool. I'm into the world, the little steampunk situation. I mean,
You're back in the desert. You're gonna let that spice
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah, that guitar guy with his hanging upside down playing guitars over the. Why not? Why not? I'm
Get
all
him on
about
a
it. Let's do it.
sandworm, man. Yeah, I had the same note about Chris Hemsworth. It felt very like cartoony. Like the facial
Yeah,
hair reminds me of like what he looked like in when he was Fat Thor in the
yeah,
Avengers films.
yeah.
And I will say, like, as while it does look action packed, maybe it's just like my memory, but I feel like the previous Mad Max, comparing this one to it, I feel like there was a lot more like CGI, and it just looked maybe the effects are still being tweaked a bit, and
Mm,
it's just a trailer on my Mac and not a big, theatrical screen, but like it seemed very like more computer
mm,
fake than the other one did. Like the other one, I felt like we were in the desert, or like we were in
mm.
the space, and it just seemed a little bit more, I don't know, set and CGI to me. But
Mm.
John, what did you think of the trailer?
I've never seen the original Mad Max, which I know I'm missing out, but it looks like it'd probably be a good one if you're looking for just some mindless action, basically. That's kind of all I got
Yeah.
out of it.
I was
Have
gonna say
you?
not
So
not
you
the
haven't?
the original. I mean, because the original is like original
No,
Yeah.
original, like
I've
Mel
seen
Gibson
neither.
original. Oh, okay.
I've seen neither. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
you should check out Fury Road for
Yeah.
I
sure.
hear it's good. I hear it's
Yeah.
good. I just never really got around to watching
Yeah.
it. So
There is This is actually the fifth Mad Max movie. And we
Mm,
had three in the 80s. Um and then it came back in 2015 and 2024. And then I guess there's already one called Mad Max The Wasteland.
mm.
In TBD whenever that's coming. But yeah, and I will say like the prequel aspect obviously is interesting. Sometimes it works out. You have something like Better Call Saul, that prequel thing, because like in this, like we kind of know the outcomes of, or at least, you know, what happens with Furiosa, because we've seen, the next
Mm.
film. Um, and Anya is playing like a younger version of Charlize Theron's character. And at points I hear it in the voice. Like I'm like, oh, I can see what she's doing here. Then I will say this trailer didn't give me too much though of like her, other than just like
Yeah.
still shots of her mugging to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like those faces, or
Mm-hmm.
like the wide reveal. It's like, here I
Mm.
am. Like, I don't know if she even barely talked on screen. It was just like voiceover.
Voiceover. Yeah.
So
Which I feel like, is it just me, or I feel like she's been doing like a lot of like VO stuff. Like I hear her voice
yeah.
in like a bunch of different stuff. Like even in Dune, I think I heard her voice more than we did here or like saw her, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the same thing. The mug to the camera. It's the
Yeah.
take off the scarf and
Yeah.
here I am. Like that's how most of this trailer was, I feel
Yeah.
like, for her. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I think this will be an interesting thing because when we had in 2015, Mad Max cleaned up at the Oscars in the technical
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It really did a lot with that. We're gonna have this film. We're gonna have Dune Part Two. We're gonna have a lot of tech films in there. And it'll be interesting to see, what goes with what. Maybe if they just all go in with Dune Part Two and then this one gets snubbed.
Mm.
But it's an interesting thing because they're both in franchises. They're both sequels. Like they're both, respected directors. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And then we'll talk about another kind of sci-fi-ish thing that's going to be coming to HBO later this summer, and that's House of the Dragon season 2. So this was actually very interesting because there's actually two trailers that they put out. Um, it's been 2 years since the events of this prequel series, which is set 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. And when they released this trailer for season 2, which is going to drop on June 16th, we got a green trailer and we got a black trailer. Black trailer. Now, it's told from two different perspectives. You got the green trailer with Alicent, we're focusing on Alicent and like the King Landing's team. And then you got the black trailer, which focuses on Rhaenyra and Dragonstone. And just from a viewer, I'm also a little rusty on these names. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me. I'm right there with you.
And maybe I'm biased. Maybe it's just how I thought when I was watching the show. The green trailer, I started with it. It was kind of like boring of the two. But
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, the black trailer here with, I think anything with just Dragonstone and those characters and
Mm-hmm.
Prince Daemon, the Matt Smith character. Already it's like I'm more into that. So like the second
Mm-hmm.
one I think was much better. But I want to get your opinions on both trailers, your anticipation for this the season coming out. John, what did you think of the House of the Dragon trailers?
I thought they were okay. I think I'm still a little burnt out over the finale from the first series. So, not that I disliked what we saw for the last season of House of the Dragon. It just isn't. It's not something I'm like, oh, I gotta go watch that. It's like, all right, I'll watch it when it's on, I guess. So it seems like it's gonna be all right, but I'm not dying for it.
I hear it. I mean, season one felt like almost like a premise pilot. Like the first half of the season, first of all, was like I mean, it was setting up the two characters. We had younger versions of these characters for the first half of the season, and then we finally had them grown up. And by the end of the first season, it's like, okay, we set them up. We set up this war. We set up this thing, and now hopefully we're gonna get the payoff of what season one set
Yeah.
up. And talking vague because it's been so long. Like I feel like when I was watching season one, I was actually like, into it, and I knew what was going on. I could follow it really well compared to Game of Thrones, for me. Um, I barely remember where we it's too long in between these seasons. 2 years, it's too long to remember all this stuff. But Kyle, what did you think of the trailers?
I felt the same way as you. As like I need a reintroduction just to understand what's happening in the trailers. Um, I thought, yeah, the trailers were fine. I like the fact that we get to see a little bit extra depending on the camera angle or whatever shot they decide to use. That was cool. A little bit different storytelling. So it's interesting. It is cool. The thing I was thinking back when I was watching was, are like they try and make them teams, but I'm thinking in my head it's like neither of them are good.
Yeah.
Like none of them I don't remember like rooting for because they all have just these negative traits about them, just like all people do.
Yeah.
But I was just like, they are really lacking somebody that you can really, really root for in this series. But I guess that is whatever medieval times or whatever they're going
But
for.
even like I feel like, when you're watching the original like Game of Thrones, you had
You had like the
favorites. I mean, even
Stark
just even
father.
just Tyrion, like you want to root
Yeah,
for like
Tyrion.
yeah,
Yeah.
like certain characters. And I feel like so far, yeah, I don't know who I'm really rooting for in this. And I remember like just not, no offense, not caring too much for Emma D'Arcy because I remember like we had 5 or 6 episodes of Millie Alcock, and I was like, she's really
Mm,
good. Like,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden, oh, she's gone,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't getting anything from
Yeah.
Emma, like, in the second half. And hopefully we get some flashbacks. Maybe we'll get more Millie in season two. We have that character. You can do flashbacks, flash forwards. You could play around with time, being in this prequel. And I don't know. I am worried about like the strikes of it all because this
Hmm.
season was filmed during the strikes last year. And while I don't think many of the actors are SAG members, so like it was okay to continue going on, but I believe that the writers are WGA members. So in that situation, you can't like you're on set and you need a rewrite. Technically, that's not allowed. Like you
Mm,
can't add lines, you can't change things. So these stories were like locked in. This is what it was. This is what you were doing. You can't like redo anything or move stories around or add
mm,
something like so that's tough because if anything, the probably the script is not the strongest thing in some of these shows and like the story. Like it's I think the production design looks good. I mean, some of the stuff looks, I think, better than some of the stuff in the Mad Max trailer, the computer wise,
mm.
So
But I don't
um
know with like more scripted, with more dramatic stuff like this, how much of that stuff gets punched up. Like I know with
yeah.
comedy, especially sitcom, they're still punching stuff up, even based on what they're hearing from like a live audience or even
But
how it's
yeah,
playing out. But I don't know how much of that punching up
I
goes
think it's just
on
the
in
idea of like
dramatic.
tinkering with a story where
Yeah,
it's like if there's a storyline, it's like, oh, we really need one more scene to set up this
yeah,
intention from a character. Oh,
yeah,
too bad. Or like,
yeah,
oh wait, I don't understand why this person's doing that. And it's just
yeah.
like, oh, like
Yeah.
if only we had another line or another scene or another,
Mm,
oh, this would work better in this episode. But nope, it's like because I mean I'm sure there's stuff on like Succession, which by the way, that would have been a great thing with this dueling trailers thing. Like I know we got the different
Yeah.
posters and stuff, but like leading up into like the, season 3 and 4 to have a Kendall or a Logan trailer would have been pretty cool. But
Yeah.
no.
There's just one other thing I wanted to say about the trailers is that I think they do have another very, very good villain on their hands, like they had with King Joffrey. Is that I think it's Alicent's one of her sons, the guy with the eye patch. That guy sucks. Like I just want that guy to die. So, yeah. So I think he's going to be a good villain. And does anybody remember how we left off? Didn't somebody get bit on a dragon?
I think that I don't know about like I think they
knocked
straight up
off, right?
died. Yeah.
Yeah, he got knocked off and killed or something.
Yeah, I think it was again. There's gonna be so many people in the comments. We're sorry, but like, I think it's Rhaenyra's kid, I believe, and that's why I think kind of starts this whole war.
And there was that big scene when they were crowning the kid, and the dragon broke through into the hall with what's her name? I forget what her name was. That was close to the end as well. So there's a couple things that happened right at the end that I definitely need to refresh before I watch this, because it's like
we'll definitely be talking about. So yeah, we'll definitely have to do some refresh. We can listen to our pods and we can hear
there we go.
It's right there for us. And what we thought of season 1, but we'll definitely catch up for season 2. I think we're definitely going to talk about it on the podcast. So, all right. So that is House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. We're talking about this. We're going to talk about a series, the first real series from the Game of Thrones guys. From they've been away for a while and they're back with the 3-body problem. Let's talk about it. Let's go back.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, 3-body problem. It premiered on Netflix on the dates right there, March 21st, 2024. This science fiction series, created by David Benioff, D.B. Weiss, and Alexander Wu, is loosely based on the novel of the same name. After being adapted into a Chinese television series in 2023, this 2024 Netflix series explores how a decision made in 1960s China reverberates into the present, where a group of scientists partner with a detective to confront an existential planetary threat. All right, so there is a lot going on with this. Again, we are not going to pretend we're experts. Initially we were going to focus on the premiere, which is called Countdown. I think so far I've seen 2, and I think it actually makes more sense to at least talk about those 2 at least, because I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in 2 that kind of sets up what show is. I'm sure there's even more. I know you guys went on and saw multiple episodes past that, but so we're gonna skate around it. We'll mostly focus with those 2 episodes, spoiler wise, I guess, if we can. But I guess like start us off. I know Kyle, I believe, has read the first book.
I've read
series.
Yeah, I've read the first book.
Yeah, so what do you think so far between the book, between the series, what you're seeing on screen, what's going on?
So I think it's a pretty faithful retelling of what happened in the book. They're getting large chunks of information to us in a timely manner while making it entertaining. And I even said to you, I think after I finished the book, is I don't know how they're going to adapt this thing, because it's just so massive, so difficult. So I was really intrigued with how they were going to do it. I'm pleasantly surprised with how they're doing it. It's very entertaining. Again, they're getting that information across. The only thing I will say is the group of scientists, and I'm sure as you will explain kind of more of the storyline, the group of scientists that we're following in the book is really one person.
Interesting.
So everything that they're doing is real, or everything that they're experiencing is really one person.
Interesting. So there's so much to do, but they expanded one character into multiple.
Yeah.
I think that probably would help, because I think that's the stuff I like so much, like so far, is the team of scientists and and just like what's going on with them. So I'm glad we're doing a bit more with them.
Yeah. But that's probably the biggest thing that I noticed is that's different. But as far as all of the things that the scientists are kind of going through is pretty faithful to what happens to the characters. So
Okay. All right. So John, you haven't read the book,
I
right?
haven't. I've started it like once or twice, but I've never
Mm.
really sat down and read it all. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm the farthest out of the three of us into it, and I've been enjoying it. I want to make sure I don't spoil anything, so I might uh, refrain from discussing some of the more plot points of this. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take on what is, I guess could be possible for us if we met, other beings or whatever. But yeah, I've been enjoying watching it. I feel like the information's coming a little fast, but considering the scope that they have to cover, I understand why it is. But could this have been something that maybe they could have done, stretched it out a little bit longer over the course of another season or something? Maybe, but yeah, overall, I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I think if given the choice of like stretching things out or like give me the good stuff, I think at this point, like with just TV, what we've been seeing with a lot of shows where it's like, this first season really just sets up the series. It's like, no, like you have a pilot that sets up the series. I don't need 10 hours to set up what what the series is actually about. And I think Kyle, though, you said that they're going so fast that you've seen 3 episodes and that's the first book.
a majority of the first book is in those first 3 episodes, I would say, because something happens in episode 3 that I'm like, this, I don't know if they just added this or if it's something from one of the other books. So we're getting to that borderline even in episode 3, at the end of episode 3, where I'm like, I think we're pretty much where that book leaves off, because I know there's like, I think at least 3 books in this series. So
So that's an
See,
interesting thing where it's like if there's 3 books in this series, I guess kind of this is jumping ahead, John, but like, you know, well, say what you will about the Game of Thrones guys with, Benioff and Weiss, where it's like, yeah, did they land the plane, at the end of Game of Thrones? Probably not. But like I feel like a lot of people loved when they were adapting the material. They're really good adapters. But like, what are we going with this here? Because, obviously we're early and there's so many stories going on. They're not 100% connected yet, but it's like I don't need the puzzle to fit yet. Like I'm enjoying the ride, but like sometimes with these mystery box type shows, whether it's Lost or, any of these other ones that copied Lost, it's like, okay, like where are we going? You can always start strong, but then it's those other seasons. And I really wonder, are they planning on other seasons? And if so, like, is it just the books, or are they going to expand if it becomes big past the books? And if so, like, are those guys good with original stuff to continue this world? And that's where I'm like confused of like how much material they got and how much are we going to get?
or are we gonna get some kind of like temporal shift where like we've been rushing through the first couple of books and all of a sudden like the last book is the season
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah, that thread gets pulled really thin. It's like, oh boy. So I'm not sure. What's interesting is there's a lot of stuff coming fast, but I also at points felt like I wasn't quite developing like what's the plot beat here,
Yeah.
So it was very weird that I could simultaneously kind of feel like we're flying and also once in a while feel like, all right, but what is this getting to? Like
yeah,
it's weird.
And I mean, just from the book, I told a couple of people I'm reading the 3 Body Problem, and they're like, well, what's it about? And I'm like, I'm 200 pages into this thing. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what they're trying to tell me. I don't know what they're trying to do, because I didn't like look at the back cover. I just knew that we were going to do this. And I'm like, let me check it out.
Yeah.
So I had no idea still what we were in for.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's try to at least talk about some of the things we've seen in these first 2 episodes, breaking it down a little bit here. We start off with a very hard to watch, like cold open. We're set in 1960s China. We have a physics professor, being tortured, being beaten for just speaking the truth. His wife denounces him and what he's saying, but we have his daughter in the audience and believing her father. And this character is going to be, I think, a big character throughout the series because we see her later in the present. And I believe you guys can correct me. It's her daughter that jumps into the accelerator, whatever circular room,
Yeah.
temporal paradox or whatever this is.
Yep.
And and meanwhile, she's also like that's not the only scientist dead. There's a detective looking into all these strange happenings with these scientists. Another person without eyes that they find with a countdown, possibly because another character we see is like having visions of also of a countdown and can't escape those as well. So there we got like a police story. We got a story set in the 60s because we jump back and we see more with the woman in the 60s. And I think that's like what, the big thing, at least at the end of episode 2, is she receives a message. They're trying to communicate, with any life forms out there, against her kind of, I guess, her boss's wishes. She sends them into the sun so they can like really like expand, echo throughout the universe really, much quicker. And she gets a message saying like pretty much like, hey, like, I'm one of these guys here. It's like I don't want to start anything. Like I'm pretty much telling you, don't respond. Just lay off this because if you bring this up again, I'll have to, move it up the chain here and somebody else will hear this and we will invade you and we will conquer you. So lay off. Like just don't bother us. We're gonna forget this whole thing happened. And she's like, she answers anyways and says, you know what? Actually, I'll help. I'll help you conquer this world. And that's how episode 2 ends. So, and that's in the 60s, and obviously we're getting stuff here now with a countdown. People are seeing the birds are falling from the sky. The sky is flickering like a light switch on and off. It turns out to be a code that matches the countdown. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of worry with these scientists seeing abnormal stuff going on. Doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Yeah. So, any thoughts of what we've seen so far and where this, generally could expand to?
Well, yeah, it's tough because I kind of know
I know because I watched
about where
episode
we're
6,
going.
and Kyle knows because he read the book, so it's kind of like
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys have done 400 some episodes. You can
So
tease us a little bit
so
here.
what I will say is, right, what was behind her decision to say, "Hey, I'll help you conquer this world," right? Because
Yeah.
we see her in the present day, she's still just an old lady and
Yeah.
sitting in a house. So it seems like that has gone away. Why was she feeling the way she was? Well, I mean, she just saw her father being beaten by the very people she's now working for. That seems probably wrong in her mind. So that
Yeah.
we see that's probably the motivation there. Then uh, I mean, we haven't even talked about the whole. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this yet,
Yeah.
Dave, but the whole video game
Yeah,
aspect of it.
that was the next thing I was gonna bring up is
Game of Thrones. No.
yeah. I think the woman that jumped into that whatever accelerator thing was working on a virtual reality game, which is very, very real. Like, or so much so that like when you're in this world, you can feel and taste the sand. Like it's like almost like a portal into something.
Mhm.
Is it that? Like it's very Black Mirror. It's I don't know how this is connecting to the alien invasion that we're going to get.
Mm.
Possibly, but like uh it's very interesting. I will say I first like the way they like shot something with him here and he, it was a fun bit in episode 2. Like he kept getting his neck sliced and
Mhm.
we cut back to like real life and at first like I think it was just like a design on his hoodie, but there was like these red stripes. I'm like, oh, did he actually get like blood? Like it was something if something happens in that game, it's actually real in real life or something
Yeah.
like that. But Now it seems like you can die multiple times and it's okay, at least so
Mm.
far. But yeah, if you would you anything else to add about this VR game here?
I
Uh,
have a theory, but
Yeah.
I think if I'm right, I'm gonna be spoiling stuff, so I don't want to. I don't want to
Yeah.
say it. You know
Should
what I
I?
mean?
Should I?
No,
I'll
no.
take mine out. I'll take mine out if you want to say it on the pod. Get it on record.
Either way, it doesn't matter. It's up
All
to
right,
you.
here we go. Say it, John.
All right, you good, Kyle? You good with me
Yeah.
saying it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
I think that it's a training thing to try and find a way to rehydrate that alien species who's dehydrated, and so they're using that to try and find somebody who can outsmart the puzzles that they're positing,
Mm.
and that way they won't have to take over Earth and use the resources of Earth to save their planet. That's my theory.
Oh, okay. I
That's
see
my
what you're
thought,
saying.
but
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Interesting. Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
I don't know, but
That's
yeah.
the
That
a
is an
first on the
interesting thought.
podcast. To do that. You guys could have just been talking nonsense and just
Yeah,
like picking
we were
on me the
just
whole
talking
time, and
crap about you.
I'll never
No.
know because I'm not going to listen to that section at least until I finish Three Body Problem.
Yeah.
But
Well, John brought up a theory that I hadn't thought of in relation to
mm,
something, but yeah, I just think this, this there's someone tied to this video game, um, and we don't really know for sure yet, but there seems to be, and I don't even know because if that's where they're going with this, but there's also that kind of other shady Game of Thrones character that arrives at the funeral. We don't really
yeah.
know what's happening with him. And that might be somewhat tied up in whatever's happening here. In the first episode, didn't we have Augie? Does she get her cigarette lit by
Yes,
the
that's
one
another thing.
character?
Yep.
And so that never happened in the book, but I don't know if it happens in later books. So I really don't know what they're doing with that, or if
Yeah.
that character that disappears is supposed to signify like is this, you know, otherworldly entity already on the physical planet already? Like it's very kind of
Yeah,
strange.
because that person said to like, oh, you want to get rid of this countdown?
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing what you're doing. Stop your
Yeah.
work. And she does later, and yeah, the countdown goes away. So it's connected. And then when we later see the detective investigating everything, she's scrubbed from the footage. But like,
Mm.
is she scrubbed? Does she exist? Is it some kind of something or other, magic,
Yeah.
space, time continuum? I don't know.
But what's really interesting about this whole thing is, why are scientists being targeted?
Yeah.
And if we are trying to reach an otherworldly species, why would we be trying to get rid of the people
That could
would
communicate with those people.
or
Yeah.
probably have the biggest chance of getting to them, or them communicating with us, or whatever the circumstance is. So
Watch more. Watch
yeah, no,
episode 6.
I know it's I know it's coming up, but
Well,
that's the
We'll get to it.
questions
We'll get to it.
that
Yeah.
are left within even I
Yeah.
think the first, second, and third episode. So
One nitpick I want to say, this goes for all, like anytime when any human interacts or tries to interact with somebody from like space, or or sends a message out and stuff. I was noticing this when they were like doing this, like, yeah, we're sending out this message. We're gonna just keep playing it on a loop, we come in peace, this and that. It's like, let's say, you're American and you're sending that from Cape Canaveral and you're sending it out there. It's like, what makes you think that these aliens speak English, or like maybe they speak Spanish, maybe they speak a whole different language. Like, it's
Yeah.
just wild because they also might be like, we might say like, we come in peace, and they might be like, their word for peace is like war. It's like, we come for your. It's just like it's just wild, And so like, I know it's just for a show or for a movie when they do this, but it's just like there's no universal language that like
yeah.
So in real life, when we've sent out satellites that have like data on them,
Yeah.
we actually include like, I don't know how they do it, but like some way to be able to like translate what's on that data to other things. Like, I don't know exactly how they do it, but they supply like data that and like pictures and all those things to try and help do this in real life. So yes,
they send-
it is.
I would have to
Don't-
rewatch like Arrival. Didn't they have stuff with like
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Don't
But-
they send like also like pop culture things too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like here's this thing that we created.
Yeah, can you
and,
imagine like just like sending something and it's like you send like Austin Powers or
I
something,
know.
and they're like, "This is what Americans are, right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the prototypical American or anybody, this
Yeah,
human
yeah.
being, you know." But yeah, send up Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, yeah, but send Three Body Problem, you know, why not? Maybe they'll be able to understand it a little bit better. But
Mhm.
all right, so it sounds like you guys have already watched more. You're gonna complete it, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's interesting. I actually, to be fair, I think the series is more interesting than the books. I felt the books were a little bit hard to get through. I've taught. I was reading the book in the airport at one time, and some guy stopped me and he's like, "Hey, that's my favorite book," and it's going on, and I was like, "Okay, cool," and I was like, "It's okay," but. I didn't like love the book, but I thought it was okay. In fact, I didn't love the book that I'm not even going to continue with this
Oh,
with
wow.
the book series. But I do find the TV series interesting, and I do like the actors. I like the dynamic between the scientists.
Yeah.
And it got some interesting things going on outside of the book that has piqued my interest. So I'm down with it.
Interesting. Yeah, and we'll wait to see how this does on Netflix, and who knows, you know, they can renew something and then cancel it. But I think with the amount of money and energy they put into this and it being like a real play for like an international show, I think we're at least gonna get a season two. Like I'd be surprised if we don't. But we'll have to wait and see. That is it for Three Body Problem. That's it for this episode. Now, later this month, we're gonna have a couple shows in April. I believe like 2 or 3 shows, and we got a lot to talk about. A lot coming up on the podcast. We have the series finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is hard to believe after 24 years. It's all coming to an end for Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. We have another kind of sci-fi post-apocalyptic show in Fallout. It's gonna be on Amazon. We'll check out the series premiere for that. And it's hard to believe, but at the end of the month, it'll be time for our annual summer box office draft.
Wow.
A lot to do. We also have to pay up our Oscar bet and watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So it's going to be a busy month. It's going to be a busy month. So get ready. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doreduncy.com. We are live on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time. Twitch.tv/doreduncy. I don't have the YouTube link offhand, but I always post it on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok, at Dual Redundancy. You can find the links to join us live on Twitch and on YouTube. I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight on a Wednesday, a little earlier than usual. John directing the show, putting it up on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. I couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do or Duncy. Goodbye, everybody.